everybody. I'm Cheryl Crisp for Movieguide's Backstage Pass, and this is Coffee and Conversation with the founder and CEO of TruPlay, Brent Dusing. I'm so excited about this. I have 4 kids, and I'll eventually have grandchildren, and I'm so excited about TruPlay. Can you explain what it is?
Absolutely. TruPlay is a gaming platform that contains really high quality and fun, engaging games, mobile games, cartoons, digital comics. Everything we do is done with a really high degree of fun and excellence and beauty, but everything we do contains God's truth. We're seeing a big movement starting in our society where, things are so bad for children today, and we can certainly talk about that, but so many parents are coming on board to say, look, we've got to change things for our kids. And from where we come from, there's, kids are on screens 52 and a half hours a week. So we're here to provide something to come alongside parents that expresses the parents' values rather than contradicts their values, but with entertainment that kids love and enjoy. And that's what TruPlay is all about.
It's really amazing that kids, like you said, will spend 52 and a half hours a week on their screen, and they're only going to be in church an hour a week. So it's really a big problem. What was on your heart when you created TruPlay?
So what happened was I've been a serial tech entrepreneur for the vast majority of my career, and I was about to turn 40, I guess, and I was starting to ask myself the type of questions men ask when they get to be that age. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I was bothered by what I was seeing. I was seeing anxiety, suicide, depression rates at all-time highs for kids. This is before COVID. It's that stat is because it exactly mirrors the rise of social media on smartphones. I got bothered by the fact that the average male is exposed to pornography when he's 11. I got bothered by the fact that the worst stat, over 60% of Americans that are 40 years old or more believe in God, which isn't really that bad compared to a lot of countries, but only 31% of kids, 31%. And you zoom in and say, wait, how did we get there? How did that happen? Well, I don't think it's right. I don't blame the church at all. What I blame is the rest of society and culture. You're on a screen 52 and a half hours a week as a child in America, the average child. The average child's at church 30 minutes, because if you go to church, you're there for an hour on average. If you don't go, you're there 0 hours, right? So it's literally 100 to 1, over 100 to 1, the type of exposure. And the problem is there's not, the choice you had to have as a parent is, here's content that my kid doesn't really enjoy, but does ascribe to my values, or here's content that I don't feel good about at all, or is actually really terrible, but my kid actually enjoys because it's well produced, it's well made. And that was a false choice. We didn't want to have parents think that way. So at TruPlay, the inspiration was, let's go make really fun games on mobile devices, because that's where kids are, phones and iPads. Let's tell stories. Some of our stories are about the Bible. Some of them are new characters we've created, like Mabel, Lucas, and Benjamin, and the Rimverse, which we can talk all about if you like. And some of the stories are, they're inspired by God's truth, but it's done with beauty and fun and excellence, to really bring a fun storytelling, but also fun gamified experience to everything that we do.
That's awesome. Now, describe how these inspirational characters of the Bible leap off the pages and come to life in these games.
Yeah, so for our games that are explicitly based on the Bible, we have a few. We have a game called Stained Glass, where you collect stained glass, but you solve these puzzles. If you've ever played a match 3, if you played Candy Crush or Bejeweled Blitz or Royal Match, it's a match 3 game. You collect glass pieces, and the pieces form a stained glass window. The stained glass window comes to life, and a character from the Bible comes and tells you their story. We start with Eve, we go into Noah, and then Sarah's version of the story events with Abraham, and then then Moses, and so on. Another game we have coming out in just a couple months is called King David's Battles. This is interesting, right? King David's story is in some ways the most exciting story in the Bible. It's one of the greatest stories in Western civilization, but there's never been a great game or movie or TV show made about King David, right? And so we're pretty excited about our King David game. So that's coming out. And then we have a partnership with the Action Bible. I'm sure a lot of people listening or watching this, you might have a copy of the Action Bible at your house. Well, we have taken, and they've done a wonderful job. If you don't know them, it's about 2 inches thick, and almost every story in the Bible is in there. Very well illustrated, great storytelling. So they have, of course, they sell a physical hard book, we've taken their comics and digitized them and put them into TruPlay, and we're adding a new comic just about every month. So there's always kind of something new. And we have other conversations with other great content creators we're in conversations with to bring their content on as well. So there's all types of ways that God's story can come to life. And I think as Christians, we've done a lot of movies, we've done a lot of music, we've certainly done a lot of books. But given that games are now so much a part of our cultural fabric, we've got to be right there too, with excellence.
What are some of the virtues that kids can learn from these games?
So a lot of the virtues are, in the Bible stories, like for example, in stained glass, the point of stained glass is showing people it's real people experiencing a real God. So unfortunately, I think some Christians and a lot of non-believers view the Bible as nice stories. Well, it is nice stories, but it's actually real stories about real people encountering a real God. And so stained glass gets you into the situation. How would you feel if you were Eve and you had to look God in the face and tell him that you had sinned and essentially lied? How would you feel about that? And what did it feel like to get taken out of the garden? How did Noah's wife feel? Think about Noah's wife. She's not talked about much in the Bible, but none of her brothers or sisters or parents or nieces or nephews made it on the ark. So how would she have felt emotionally about that whole experience, right? In King David's Battles, a different game, that game is really about a boy becoming a man. We, unfortunately, in our culture, we don't do a good job teaching boys anymore. Here's what it means to be a man. And part of King David's journey, if you read the thread through the Bible, is him doing just that. And him, David often would use his power and strength to do what was best for the rest of the society at large. And if we had more men that did that, we'd be in a lot better place. And then others of our games, like the Rimverse with Maple, Lucas, and Benjamin, these are characters who they have their own personalities. They go through their own adventures. They live in a world where the Bible's real. The Bible's true. God is real. They pray. Some of them, they each kind of have their own life verse they base their life around, but some of them know God and some of them don't right now. And, they're on a journey, right? And so they're kind of encountering real problems kids deal with. For example, Ava is one of our characters. Her parents are divorced and she's getting bullied at school. Now, she didn't ask for those circumstances, but she has to learn that her identity is not who people say she is. Her identity is who God says she is. Another character we have is Maple, who's just very headstrong, believes in God, but sometimes gets a little bit over her skis, right? Charges a little too far ahead and has to unwind herself from trouble. So maybe learning a little bit of humility. So there's different emotional as well as adventure journeys all the characters are on.
I love that so much. It's really, really incredible. Now, how can Christian tools and games like TruPlay change hearts, minds, lives, and hopefully eventually the world?
That's a great question. Here's how we think about it. So at TruPlay, my co-founders and I built some games that were on Facebook that over 7 million people played. The Journey of Moses, Journey of Jesus, Stained Glass. Some of you may have played them a few years back on Facebook. A third of those 7 million people were not Christians. We had 25,000 people come to Christ. We partnered with the Billy Graham Association. In fact, we're partnering with them again this time around at TruPlay, which is really one of the greatest honors of my career. I mean, talk about a man who changed the world. For the better, right? And so we partnered with them, and we had 25,000 people come to Christ through the games, through the BGEA platform, the Billy Graham platform. So here's what I think happens. I think that what we see in the data and with conversations with consumers, with customers, one, if you're not a Christian, you often will get exposed for the very first time to God's truth. I mean, again, in popular culture today, if you don't take your kid to church, where else will your kid see a Christian message? And so seeing God's truth, see it played out, and even though the characters in the Rimverse, it's a bunny rabbit in a tiger costume and a skunk in a crocodile robot suit, sure, that's a fantastical design, but they go through the same emotional journeys that people go. In fact, Lucas, our one of our biggest heroes, he's on the autism spectrum. And guess what? So are a lot of kids, right? And so his journey is dealing with that and understanding emotions better and who God is. And so it's I think that what you see happen, what happened to me in the 80s. I grew up as an 80s kid, Luke Skywalker, Christopher Reeve's version of Superman. And you'd watch these heroes and you'd kind of connect with them and connect with their journey, and then you'd want to aspire to be more like them. And in the example of those two characters, Were they Christians? No, but they were virtuous. In fact, there's a lot of, I could go into, the idea of Superman being a figure like Christ in a lot of reflective ways, right? So that set an example. But I think in our culture today, kids don't have a lot of positive examples of where they can turn to for virtue. And so that's what we look to try to do.
I know you mentioned one of your games tackles real world issues. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, most of them do. And so, in the Rimverse, with Maple, again, she's very strong Christian, but very headstrong, and sometimes, uses words that she doesn't always understand the definition to, like a lot of kids do, a lot of precocious kids. Got a lot of spunk, but also sometimes doesn't really care about other people's opinions. And some might charge too far ahead and almost fall down into this, deep pit or something, or get snagged. Ava, again, her parents are divorced. Half the kids in America's parents are divorced. And Ava didn't ask for that. We certainly don't advocate for that, but that is the reality. I grew up in a divorced home, right? So the reality that this is what kids are dealing with. And so how do you deal with that constructively? How do you learn your identity isn't the names people call you at school? You don't have to take on negative talk on social media. Social media has been so devastating to our children, especially the girls, especially the teenage and preteen girls. And Ava's a preteen girl. What if you learn that you don't have to accept the lies? You don't have to, you can actually say no, you can fight back. And you are who God made you to be. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you have a special purpose, whatever God's designed for you. And that's a message for every child. And so it's really dealing with, and again, Oliver, another one of our heroes, he's adopted. And he's also a scientist. He reads a lot of science books. So he kind of thinks maybe God exists, but why would anybody pray? That doesn't make sense. Is God really there? Real questions people ask. And we come from a place of it's okay to ask questions because you know what? There's an answer. There's a truth. The truth is in the Bible. The truth is Jesus Christ. The truth is what God is trying to tell children, that he loves them, that he made them, and that they have a real purpose. And so we're taking these real life issues and letting God's truth really be the lamp as they go on their journeys.
These are conversations sometimes that parents might not even be talking to their kids about or having with them, even though they're going to church with them. Tell me about you and your team. It's really, really incredible.
Thank you. I am so blessed. This is the best team I've ever had the privilege of leading. Dozens and dozens of people work here, and they're just world class. For example, my head of engineering, I just walked out of a meeting with him. He literally, if you've shopped at Amazon and they say, take this package and split it into multiple groups, this package will get here faster. He created that algorithm at Amazon. I'm sure all of you have used that. Our head of product, my chief product officer, Jason, he literally ran the Farmville franchise. You don't have to admit that you played Farmville, but I know a lot of you did if you're listening. You don't have to tell me, Cheryl, I'll just assume. Right. And he developed a lot of James Bond games people might have played, or the Skate franchise. We have a phenomenal writing team. One of the writers wrote books that sold 3 million copies with Josh McDowell. Another one is just a brilliant, the one who created the Rimverse, and she's taught and written creatively for decades. Our art team is phenomenal. And these are all people, TruPlay, we're not just professionals, but we're also, most of us are parents. And most of us are parents who are concerned about what we see with kids, the anxiety, the suicide, the godlessness, the evil that's getting taught to them through so many channels. And we've all decided to take a stand and fight back, to say that, you know what, because God has called us to this. And usually when you look at the history of social movements, whether it's Billy Graham or whether it's Elijah back to 700 BC or 800 BC, whenever that was, 830, I think, or what the apostles did, throughout Rome and the Middle East. It's really typically God calling and empowering people to the vision he has. And I'm just so blessed to have this team that really is trying to stand up for parents and children in today's society.
It's so important. How crucial do you think it is to infuse our children and grandchildren with God's truth over the world's lies?
I think it's critical. What did Jesus say? He said the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And unfortunately, I think there are too many messages that really are evil that kids are hearing. And so if you've had no exposure to something, you often don't know the difference between right and wrong because you haven't seen anything else. And so, when you look at so many toxic messages, there's so much sexual content getting thrust on kids at young ages, 5 years old. Drug use, hyperviolence. I'm not against, a sword fight or, you'll see action in our games, but the hyperviolent stuff, the grotesque stuff, the dehumanization of people, whether that's from a violence or a sexual standpoint, when you learn that at too young of an age, it's hard to unwind. Can God do miracles and change people's lives? Of course he can. He does it every day. But gosh, you'd rather not go down that road, right? You'd rather not go deep down a dark road and have to be wound out of it. You'd rather start on the right path in the first place. The Bible says, teach a child in the way he will go. When he's older, he won't depart from. And there's a lot of wisdom in that for, you're a parent, I'm a parent. I think most of our listeners today probably are. And we think about the things we sowed into our kids when they were younger and how they grew up. Well, what's so strange today, Cheryl? So many things I hear getting taught on media, social media, entertainment, news, video games, movies. It's the things your mom taught you was wrong. Those very things your mom said, hey, that's wrong. This is this, that's that. It's the opposite now. And so we've got to change that, but in a way that's engaging and fun and affirming of children. And something that inspires and engages them. And that's when we hope we've done that.
Brent, when people want to find TruPlay, where can they find it?
If you go to TruPlayGames.com, if you're listening, it's TRUPLAY. So drop the E, TruPlayGames.com. You're welcome to, check it out, download it. I will say, there really is a movement starting, and we've had so many phenomenal groups support and partner with us, the Billy Graham Association, Promise Keepers, Sam Rodriguez, Candace Cameron, Dean Kane, my buddy Dean Kane, so many awesome leaders and many, many more partnering and coming alongside because something is changing. And we realize that, look, if we can change, go from 30%, what if we went to 30 to 40% to 50% to over half of kids believed in God? You could change a generation, you could change this country, you could change the world. But it's going to take parents, if you're listening, people subscribing. The more people subscribe, we don't pocket the money. We use it to build more games. We have a new game and at least one new game, a new comic coming out every month. We work really hard to add new stuff all the time. And hopefully we'll get faster and faster with that. We have a lot of partners and people we're talking to. Merchandise, we sell t-shirts, things. And the more that people come on to support the movement, a lot of people like to complain, and I get it. I'm not happy about a lot of entertainment choices either. But when something comes to the market that's awesome and unique and it really ascribes to your values that your kid enjoys, and we've seen near perfect ratings on the App Store and phenomenal reviews if you read them. And our data shows us that people love it. And by the way, parents love it. I'll tell you, parents, it's something you can do for your kids that you'll actually enjoy. Just like some of your favorite animated movies, you might enjoy watching them. The Lion King is my favorite animated movie. I love watching it with my kids because I enjoy it too. There's a story. I think as a parent, you'll enjoy the storytelling. We see parents competing with their kids, playing with their kids, laughing at some of the jokes that are a little more geared towards the parent than the kid. We hope you enjoy it, and we need everybody to support and come alongside to really make this transformational change.
It's really a positive way where the parents and the child can interact and have fun. And it's also a way, I feel, a tool to help parents fight for the souls of our children.
You're absolutely right. We started out, as I said, we're professionals, but we're parents who are concerned about our children's future and their mental health and their souls, right? And so it's too easy to blame parents, and we don't get into that. Look, most parents I talk to, they're trying to do their best, and it's not easy in today's world to work with all the demands of that and raise children and all the pressures, from social media and news. And then it's like there's this tidal wave, this tsunami of awful content coming on children, bad chat rooms in games and sexual content in games and social media and movies and just inappropriate stuff. And visually, I think emotionally to a lot of parents, it's like if a hurricane's coming to the beach, the world's telling you, just stop, go to the beach and hold up your hands, you'll be fine. No, that's not going to stop the hurricane, right? So what we're trying to do is provide an alternative besides living on the edge of the beach. and a hurricane's coming, right? Let's put you in a safe place. There's no chat rooms. There's no ads. There's no in-app purchases. Everything's based on God's truth. And so we've just found building a high degree of trust is important because we think that parents make the best parents at TruPlay, right? Not other people in some faraway place or some other media platform that hates your values. We want to encourage your values to your children.
If you enjoy videos that follow your values like ours and you want to help us continue, go to movieguide.org/donate because we're actually a nonprofit. You may not know that, but we're working in Hollywood every day to help families have more choices that follows their values. And also subscribe right now.